Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Run with Allie live podcast. It is May 21st and it is really sunny here in Southern California. And, I think, Kathleen, how about, I know you're in this neck of the woods. How is it by Poway?
Oh, it's nice and warm. I think it's going to be 90 today, which
Oh my
I'm
gosh.
excited about. I
Oh
like
my
the heat.
gosh. Yeah. Well, hey, if you like the heat, it's the place to be, right? Uh,
Yes.
I love that. And, before we dive into anything today, for the returning listeners on here, I want to remind you if you have not subscribed to the show already, please do so after today's episode. And to everyone new on here, this is a great chat to be joining. We have a wonderful guest. So after the episode, please subscribe to the show so you never miss a new one every single week. So, without further ado, we have Kathleen Ferguson on here. She is the founder of Coach360, I guess, a holistic coaching brand company that helps entrepreneurs of all sorts. I'll let Kathleen, you kind of dabble into more of, what you do and how you help elevate other brands. But thank you so much for being on here today, and I appreciate you.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me. This will
Yeah,
be fun.
it's going to be so fun. So first, let's kick it off by having you describe like who you are, what you're all about, and Coach 360.
Yeah, absolutely. I always say, in order to know, what Coach360 and what I'm all about, it's important to know where I came from, and how I got into the industry because that means a lot to me. I got into the industry 17 years ago. I started as a personal trainer on the gym floor myself. The reason I got into this industry was I wanted to become a personal trainer coming out of, really kind of traumatic event in my life. I lost my first husband when I was very, very young to cancer. And, I ended up just quitting my day job because I felt completely kind of devoid of, having purpose in my professional life,
Mm.
and decided I'm going to become certified. I want to, really, use my career and, my professional development to help others. And I wanted to help, people by being at the front lines of preventable chronic disease and the obesity epidemic, and, just really impact people in that way. However, it is really difficult, as a personal trainer and a coach to figure out how to make a career and how to make a living, that's sustainable and impactful. So, I think like so many other coaches and trainers, I really struggled to figure out the business side of it because honestly, like when you come out of a certification, there isn't like a ton of business training that goes into it that says, here's what you need to do to market yourself. Here's what you need to do to attract and retain the right clients. Here's how, you build a digital presence. And that's constantly changing, as you know. So it can be very confusing to a new professional in the industry. I ended up meeting Peter and Kathy Davis, who are the original founders of Idea Health and Fitness Association, and really married the two things that I could do, which were fitness and also sales. So led a sales team there for about 10 years, went through multiple acquisitions, and really got to cut my teeth on how to connect brands in the industry to the right avatar. So whether they're looking to reach fitness professionals and coaches, I helped them to do that. Or if they were looking to reach owners and operators in the club and studio space, I did that for them. Ended up jumping ship during COVID because, like everyone else, my life changed. I had 3 young kids in elementary school. So I decided, all right, I'm going to go off on my own, and, be an independent industry consultant while Zoom homeschooling my 3 kids. And took on another role within another media platform that was, more B2B and news in nature. And then January 2024 rolled around and I said, okay, I need to go back to my roots. Something that was very meaningful to me was, how do we keep more coaches in the industry? How do we support them, through educational resources, content, as well as opportunities to build a career and connect them to the right jobs, right? So that's where Coach360 came from. I ended up, going through this whole like life coaching thing, which I thought, I'd never do, but I did it. It really changed, it truly changed my life and like helped
Yeah.
me to kind of like remove these limiting beliefs I had about myself, which we can talk about later, but, wanted to build something. So Coach360 came about and I know media, I'll launch a media platform. And later on, I'm going to launch a marketplace by Coach360 to staff, to be a niche staffing platform for fitness professionals and clubs and studios in this industry. So that's how it all came about. And, we're about a year old now, and we have about 1,500 club and studio locations posting jobs. We send out a weekly newsletter. We've built a, pretty robust digital community of about 30,000 health and fitness professionals, and we're launching all sorts of new products. So yeah, just excited to be here. And, thank you for letting me share my story with your community.
No, of course. And that's so inspiring. Thank you for sharing. Like, I love hearing everyone's why it's so different. And, having your story just behind the why of your brand is very inspirational. I love that. So thank you for sharing that. I'm sure that transition wasn't easy,
Absolutely.
but I believe that when one door closes, another door opens, and look at what you're doing now. That's amazing. Maybe I could benefit from your services someday. You never know, right? So I would love for you to, maybe like tell us a little bit about, you mentioned things changing, right? And like everything's changing due to like AI, especially in the digital space.
Sure.
What are the major shifts that you've seen while working with, I guess, industry professionals, fitness professionals, like, and their pain points, I guess?
I think the biggest pain point for industry professionals is truly, just building an impactful business. And when you talk about the digital space and how to build a digital presence, much of that goes back to, your social media and building your own personal brand, right? Building that brand and establishing what is your niche, because you need to establish your niche to build your brand in order to attract the right clientele when building your digital presence. So I think a lot of it stems from, how is social media changing? How do I leverage social media to best get my message out and to market to the right clients and to also build credibility, whether it's through, content or just, creating, that powerful brand online, with, YouTube and TikTok and, just reaching the right audience. How do you do that? Right. So I think that's a major pain point. I think the marketing piece and, how do I, kind of create this content, right? So if I'm going out to a show and I want to slice up content for a month, how do I use Canva? How do I use all of these different things? I think that's a major pain point, is how to, kind of take a piece of content or take an experience and create multiple pieces of content to tell your story. So I think, there's a lot of changes in that aspect. I mean, social media has changed so much in just like 5 years. I
Yeah.
mean, when I started, 17 years ago, I mean, there was what was it, like Facebook? I don't know.
Yeah. Facebook,
Um,
if
that
even,
was
I mean,
it. Yeah, I
Facebook
mean,
came
that
out
was
when I was in
it.
high school. So like, yeah,
Yeah, I mean, that was
like,
it. So, I mean,
yeah.
it's just, it changes rapidly all the time. And so,
Mhm.
like, how do you keep up with that as an industry professional? The other piece is AI. And I was just talking to somebody about this earlier
Yeah.
today on another
Yeah.
podcast. And we were talking about how there seems to be this, major, almost, I don't want to say fear of AI, but like kind of like pushback and resistance to it. There's a lot of talk about, oh, is, AI going to replace the fitness professional, the personal trainer, in 10 years? I mean,
Mhm.
you could literally say that about almost every profession, right? You could say, oh, AI is going to replace a doctor. AI is going to replace, and at the end of the day, AI is not going to replace the human touch ever. We're always going to need, this human to human interaction to be the accountability partner and the community glue, within this industry. When it comes to AI, we have to learn how not to be resistant of it, but how do we use it as our companion and, help us to be, more efficient in our business, work smarter, not harder. How can we
Right.
use it to, help us, with content and programming and,
Hmm.
kind of helping to, attract new clients. I mean, there's so many ways that we can leverage it. There just needs to be more educational content out there about how to use it.
Yeah.
Another example I can give you is like, you look at like, wearable data, that's coming in from their clientele. Like the average fitness professional is not going to know what to do with all of that data. That's where it's like AI can come in and help you create actionable insights, from this
Hmm.
data. Like, how do we create that to really help to become that comprehensive solution for our clientele? Because, again, like this is like Coach360, represents, becoming that comprehensive solution, shift away from, it's not just about your physical fitness anymore. It's about everything, like mind, body, spirit, all of
Right.
those things. So from a digital perspective, that's, kind of my 2 cents on the AI and the marketing piece.
Yeah, no, I love that. And I think that, holistically, it's important to like understand how, I guess, AI can be used to our advantage, like you said, and make processes more efficient, easier, but we need to know how to use them and where to use them. And that rapport, emotional intelligence can't be replaced by a robot. So it's about how to
No,
like leverage those tools to make time to free our time to have those maybe one-on-one personalized conversations and replicate the things that we could do, not what robots could do. But
absolutely.
about, just like making more streamlined processes efficient, getting data more comprehensive for a client. Like those are all things that, are very helpful. I love that you shared that. Yeah. So, you've worked with platforms like, I got this from your website, Oxygen Magazine,
Mhm.
and I'm sure others, at the Tech News. So while working with these, how have you seen content taking a step away from just like one-on-one brands, like evolve in the fitness industry, and I guess the wellness industry as a whole? And what role do you think storytelling plays in building authentic communities? So you kind of like started out in this podcast by telling your story, right? And that was like very
Sure.
authentic to you. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think storytelling is extremely important. I honestly can't remember the first part of your question, so you might have to repeat
Yeah.
that.
So like when I was, no, it's okay. It was kind of a twofold question. So I said,
Yeah,
working with brands like Oxygen Magazine and Ad
yeah,
Tech News, shifting away from like the one-on-one consumer to more like the
sure.
industry, like,
B2B.
B2B. Right. Thank
Yeah,
you. How has content evolved in the fitness and wellness industry, and what role does
gotcha.
storytelling play in building authentic communities?
Yeah, I mean, I think those two go hand in hand, right? Because the brands that tell the story in the most authentic way are making the most impactful connection to their end user customer. So I think, the more that, people can, open up and connect with their audience and, potentially their story might even resonate with somebody else out there that's reading or listening. That really moves the needle because the emotional connection is what drives the purchase, especially with women too, who are, kind of the key
Yeah.
consumer and key purchaser, right now in the health and wellness industry. That emotional connection is important. The role of
Yeah.
storytelling, I think, is significant because storytelling, not only, helps to, kind of create that connection piece that we talked about, but it also is the educational component to the brand and getting the word out there. So, like for example, we do a club and studio spotlight in our newsletter every single week.
Mhm.
Why is that significant? Because these clubs and studios are posting jobs on our marketplace by Coach360 platform, and we're taking a step further by telling their story. So instead of just posting a job, you as a personal trainer or coach, would you rather find a job by just a stagnant job post, or do you want to read a story about it and hear from the founder of the organization about the top 3 reasons why you'd want to work for a lifetime, or you'd want to work for an Orange Theory Fitness? Because you, as a potential job seeker, you want to hear the story because that's going to tell you, is this going to resonate with what I am looking for in my own desires for company culture where I do have a career? So the storytelling component is extremely important because, without the emotional connection, it just feels like a sales piece to, the end user consumer, the reader.
Yeah. I I think that's so important. And you said that best. Emotional intelligence, it's the connecting. I just feel like it's very, very important to have those relationships and to
Yeah.
establish those relationships. And yes, to hear those stories. I love that. What do you feel like is missing, if anything at all, from your work developing like solution-based products in the fitness tech industry today or wellness tech industry? And how does Coach 360 aim to fill those gaps?
Gosh, what I think is missing, I don't know if it's so much significantly like that it's missing. I think it's more so that we need more emphasis on a couple different things.
Mhm.
I'm always pushing the message forward that we need more emphasis on education and programming surrounding women's leadership and women's health. These are things that when I started out 17 years ago were not talked about at all. You talk about pregnancy and menopause and periods and cycle syncing. It's completely taboo and everybody, freaks out and, every man in the room is running. Now we're all talking about it. Men, women, we are all talking about the importance of women's health and the challenges at these different life phases, such as perimenopause and,
Mm-hmm.
just even being on your cycle. Like we all need to be trained differently. And,
Mm-hmm.
we don't want to go, hit it as hard on certain times, of the month or at certain, life stages. And that's something that's being addressed. And I think it's, women's health has been completely underserved for so long. I want to see more technology addressing that. And there's some great companies out there that are already doing it, but
Absolutely.
I want to see more because here's the
Mm-hmm.
thing, all of the studies surrounding, all the health studies that you read about, all of the data comes from men. And that needs to change. We need more data from women. We need to be taking that data, and that's how we need to be creating, more products and services and technology to support women's health issues. I'd also like to see more, surrounding women's leadership in terms of technology in the health and fitness industry. I don't think there's enough of it, and women have to really fight to get a seat at the table. I
Mm-hmm.
have myself experienced that firsthand, and I said, screw that. I'm going to build my own damn table,
Mm-hmm.
and
I love that.
I think that we need to see more support surrounding women entrepreneurs and women who are fundraising, as well as women in this industry, that want a role in leadership. Because without their voices, we can't create the impact that is needed surrounding women's health and all of the products and services that affect women on a daily basis.
No, absolutely. And I love that. And I want to sit at your table. Oh my gosh. Being a woman leader in the space, I mean, like, yeah, I feel like at first, like when I came into like running like a coaching business, I was like a little intimidated by all these men in the space. And then I was like, you know what? Screw that. Because, we're women and we also like could speak to things like, yes, training on your cycle. I'm not a perimenopause yet or menopause, but like I love Stacey Sims. I'm sure you know who she is. And such great, there's such great people who are sharing that education out there, women in particular. And yeah, women in sport is just also like a huge thing, not just business, in sport. And I think that that's really something to highlight. I think things are changing from what I see, and I love that. Especially like just like Strava, like giving grants to, right, to women who are, who are who have children now, and they're creating like lactate stations for, on Strava maps. I just think that's so cool. Like little things like that, things in the space evolving.
Sure.
Yeah, but I guess, what is one piece of, and this was not in the question. So
I
yeah, I
didn't
was
read the
just,
questions.
okay, that's okay. That's okay.
Admittedly, sorry. I'm like,
So
fail.
no, you're good. You're good. So, to someone like me who's like a female leader in the space, like what is like one piece of advice? And I know that's going to be hard, but one piece of advice that you'd give to me if I was like, oh man, like Kathleen, like, I don't know, like I'm kind of having imposter syndrome. I don't know. There's all these guys that just think like they know better.
Yeah, I mean, I think what you're talking about is fear. And it
Yeah.
comes down to, having limiting beliefs that you need to work through yourself. And so my piece of advice would be, and I've been there, and it's like I still get imposter syndrome because,
Oh yeah.
I have to put on, a specific face every single day. And, I'm running this company, I'm an entrepreneur, and I have to be a
Mm-hmm.
certain way. But you know what? Like sometimes my life is a shit show. It is. And, there's all sorts of things going on behind the scenes. I have 3 kids, I've got a teenager, and, she's dealing with stuff. I'm moving. I mean, the list goes on and on. So the point is that we all have imposter syndrome. And you need to figure out a way as a woman or as a woman who wants to become a leader to address the limiting beliefs, move past them, feel it, feel the emotion, let it sit with you, and then let it flow. Because at
Yeah.
the end of the day, these emotions, they want to be felt. And you need to feel them. You can't ignore them. You need to let them, you need to feel them. You need to address what it is that's holding you back. And I will tell you, I went through life coaching thing because I felt stuck before I launched Coach360. I had all these limiting beliefs about myself because I had promises made to me that were broken, about like having, shares or ownerships in a company. I had things that were said to me throughout my career, that cut me down or made me
Mm-hmm.
feel a certain way as a woman. I thought to myself, I don't know if I can, be a leader. I don't know if I can be an entrepreneur. And that's bullshit. we all can. And
Yeah.
if that's what you want to do, then you need to address those things that are holding you back, because it's not a good way to live. And I will tell you, after I did life coaching and I got through all of the stuff,
Hmm.
and finally like said, all right, I'm building my table, and this is how it's going to be, and you can love it or hate it, I don't care. I'm doing it for me because I believe in it, and I believe in the mission, and I believe in the vision that I'm building for this company.
Hmm.
After that life coaching, I launched that company. We're now a year old. I will tell you something else. I had never traveled anywhere out of the country in my 41 years. And now I've been to, like, 4 or 5 different countries in like the last 2 years. So
Love it.
it's about moving past those fears that are holding you back from the things that
Hmm.
you're truly passionate about. Because if you establish what those highest values are for yourself and those things that you're most passionate about, you shouldn't let anything stand in the way of that. And so I guess my piece of advice is that, if you need it, seek out life coaching, another form of coaching that is huge in our industry, that is like underserved, but like really it should be at the forefront of how we serve our clientele.
Hmm.
And, move past those things. If there's something that you really want, don't live with imposter syndrome. Feel it sometimes, but, then, say, bid it farewell, because it doesn't need to live with you all the time. So that's my biggest piece of advice.
That's so good. Yeah. And, um,
Oh, wait, I have
I,
one more key nugget for you. And this
yeah,
is this
yeah,
is
yeah.
important. Relationships, connection, get out there and network.
Oh, yeah.
As a woman, one of our superpowers, I believe, is connection.
Hmm.
And I've built my entire business on the relationships that I have created in this industry. Some of my clients, or some of the people I work with now, I've known, for 17 years or 16 years.
Yeah.
And I would just say, get out, go to as many events, be on as many podcasts, meet as many people as you can, because you never know how you can uplift and support one another. So that was just the one other thing I wanted to add.
I love that. And it's like weird. I don't know if like you've listened to any of my other podcasts, but I always say like relationships make the world go round. They do. They really do. And putting yourself out there, humiliating yourself, like that's awesome. So I love that you shared all of that, because like literally, like when I first was doing this, I had the biggest imposter syndrome, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna go out there and like, do my best to share some value to people that need it. And I don't care who hates on me, whatever. Be you, do you, but like be connected with those people that have the good energy, the same energy, the people that are supporting you in good ways, the women who are like, yeah, go get it, girl, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
versus the people that are trolling you and trying to tear you down because they might be a little insecure. And this is a message to any of the listeners on here too, right? It's not going to be
Mm-hmm.
easy. Find your niche, right? Get a coach. And Kathleen, I'm all about every coach has a coach. I have a run coach, I have a business coach. Um,
Yeah.
and I am one. And like I believe that, like, again, like you said, those relationships go way back. I was in corporate America before I started all this. And so right now I'm coaching my boss's boss, like from when I was in Condé Nast. So like how
I
crazy is
love it.
that,
Yeah.
right? It's like
Yeah.
crazy how, like, just yeah, keeping those relationships. And I love what you said about putting yourself out there, and being in this for the right reasons, doing this for the right reasons.
Yeah. And I mean, gosh, it's just like something you said just resonated with me too. It's just, I think, I don't know what it is, but like, I think women in general, like we could get like 10 compliments, right? About what we're doing, and, the services and business that we have created, but we
Hmm.
get one negative thing, and that tends to be the voice that we hear. And I'm guilty of that myself. And that's something that it's a constant process, right? Like we're constantly
Hmm.
working on ourselves to
100%.
be better. And like that's
Yeah.
something that I have to work on, because I get
Hmm.
one troll that, like, makes a comment or something on LinkedIn, and I just like, like it
Yeah.
used to really ruin my day. And
Yeah.
now it's just
Yeah.
like, all right, moving on, moving
Yeah.
on.
You know what? I can relate to that too, because I used to like let things get to me like really bad, ruin my day bad. And I was like, you know what? But that's them. That's not us. That is someone else's
Mhm.
upsetting whatever is going on with them. That is not anything to do with you nor I. And so, but it's easier said than done, right? To like
It
just kind of
is.
brush that off. But with time and wisdom, we live, we learn, all the things.
Yeah, and to your point, you surround yourself with your hype people, your
Correct.
community.
Yeah.
Like the
Hype
team that I
squad.
work with, my hype squad is like, made up, from professionally, like we got 3 people on the team, and we're all hyping each other up all day long. Like, I
I
mean,
love that.
you got to be surrounding yourself with those types of people. And you don't always
Absolutely.
have to be the best at everything, but when you're the most authentic,
No.
and, you are honest with, yourself and others, about your purpose and your vision, that's going to attract the right people, because it comes back to, this energy that you're putting out, right? Like you're attracting. What are you
Yeah.
attracting?
Yeah. And
So,
I love it. I love what you said, your hype squad. And yeah, I agree. Because you can't be good at everything, right? No one can. But collectively,
no,
you guys could be a power squad, powerhouse. Especially with women. I'm not sure if your squad is made up of only women or
we have a
men.
token male.
Okay, cool. That's okay. That's
My
fine.
co-founder is a male,
Okay,
is a man.
awesome. Love that.
Yes.
But like he's, surrounded by all these like boss women, right? So
Mhm.
power to him. But
Yeah.
yeah, I love this. And partially like why I brought you on like the Everyday Runners podcast is because similar to like a runner and to the people listening, like, whether you're looking to be a coach, whether you're looking to elevate your brand, or whether you're looking to run your first marathon, doesn't matter. All of these tips, they relate to one another in different ways, right? Like you got to go out there and take your first step to start training, right? You can't have that imposter syndrome. You're going to have haters, you're going to have lovers. Stick to that good energy. Same with the, aspiring business owner, right? You got to like take that first step, do all the things, fail every day, literally, and then see that success come and stay consistent with yourself over and over. I don't know if you want to say a thing or two about consistency, Kathleen, before we get to the last question, because I know we're coming up to time. And yeah, what are your thoughts on just, staying consistent with what you're doing? And, how important is that to you?
Yeah, I mean, when I think of the word consistency, I think about, kind of making sure as an individual and as a business owner, or, really any, role that you have, professionally or personally, like you should really have, a vision of, what your purpose and your highest values are carved out. And you should bundle that up and make that your North Star. And for
Mhm.
me, that North Star really dictates, kind of everything that I do, both professionally and personally. And, if it doesn't align with that, then I don't do it. So, that's kind of what I think of when I think of consistency. You're probably talking about it in a different aspect, but
No, not at all. That was like very like open. I love, the floor is yours. So I just wanted to hear like, your thoughts. I think staying consistent with everything actually, is a game maker. It just,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, and for me too, the other part of consistency comes to my own structured routine. I have this like morning routine that I do, and
Yeah.
it makes me feel in control of things. I'm very type A, and I can, there's so many things in my mind at all, any point during the day that like I can almost be so overwhelmed that it leads to like inaction, right? Um,
100%. Yeah.
and when I create this structure for myself, like I have in the morning with like my 10 minutes of meditation, my water, my coffee, my 10 outreach, and then my like, my workout, like for me, that like keeps me sane,
Hmm.
and like keeps me on like a consistent structured path for the day.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, we could go into a whole other podcast about structure and time blocking and like as a non 9 to 5er, an expat. But yeah, I love this. And, thank you so much for sharing all this. And I definitely
yeah,
look forward to sharing all your information in the show notes so that anyone can reach out to you. And seriously, I might do so myself because you are in my neck of
yeah.
the woods. Lucky
I would
me.
love that. Yeah, no, well,
Yeah,
we do like little like Coach360. We'll do like little get-togethers locally.
I
So
love that.
I'll keep you in the loop for that next time we do that, like a happy hour or like a coffee or
Definitely.
something.
Please do. Yes, yes. And, last but not least, why did you say yes to being on the podcast today, aside from the fact that I asked you to be on it?
Yeah, I mean, I saw that you were coaching, and, I was really, honestly, I was really curious about what you were doing, which is why I was asking about it before we hit record. But,
Yeah. Yeah.
I wanted to learn more about, kind of your, role in coaching. And, I just like to hear people's story. Genuinely, I love to hear people's story. Connection is one of my highest values, and I just, try to connect with as many people as I can.
Yeah. I love that. Me too. So we got to talk more. Yeah.
Yes, for
Awesome.
sure.
Awesome. Yes. Well, Kathleen, thank you so much. And to the listeners on here, you could find Kathleen's information in the show notes. This podcast episode will be published in a week from now. So be on the lookout for that. We're across, all directories, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, you name it. So Kathleen, thank you so much for your time. It was lovely getting to know you, connecting with you on here, hearing all of your wisdom. I really appreciate your time.
Appreciate you. Have a great day.
Thank you so much. And to the listeners on here, do not forget to subscribe to this week's episode, and we'll see you next time. Thanks so much.